Spinoza was among the most important of the post-Cartesian philosophers who flourished in the second half of the 17th century. He made significant contributions in virtually every area of philosophy. His writings reveal the influence of such divergent sources as Stoicism, Jewish rationalism, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Descartes. And a variety of heterodox religious thinkers of his day. For this reason, he is difficult to categorize, though he is usually counted along with Descartes and Leibniz as one of the three major rationalists. Given Spinoza's devaluation of sense perception as a means of acquiring knowledge, his description of a purely intellectual form of cognition, and his idealization of geometry as a model for philosophy. It should not blind us to the eclecticism of his pursuits, nor the striking originality of his thoughts. By God, I mean a being absolutely infinite, that is to say, a substance consisting of infinite attributes, each of which express eternal and infinite essence. Spinoza quotes, God is infinite, necessarily existing, single substance of the universe. There is only one substance in the universe, is God, and everything is in God. He argued that God was that some personified being that cared what you did or sent you to heaven or hell. For Spinoza, God was simply the substance that made up everything. In order but rather from a global perspective, from the view of eternity. It might be summarized as follows. Proposition 1. For a substance to exist, it must have at least one property. Proposition 2. If two things share a property, they must be the same substance. Proposition 3. God exists and has all properties. Proposition 4. God shares properties with everything that exists. Therefore, God is the same substance as everything that exists. Spinoza's ethics, Spinoza turns to the origin and nature of human beings. The two attributes of God that we know are the extension and thought. If God is indeed matter, it does not mean that God has a body. Indeed, God is not the material itself, but an extension of its essence. Extension and thought are two distinct species that have absolutely nothing in common. Modes or expressions of extension are physical organs, modes of thought are ideas, because the extension and thought have nothing in common. The two realms of matter and mind are causally closed systems and heterogeneous. Spinoza's ethics. The human mind as God has ideas. Spinoza engages in a detailed analysis of the composition of the human being, because its aim is to show how the human being is a part of nature, unlike those who think of a man as an empire within an empire. This has serious ethical implications. First, it implies that human beings do not have freedom, because our minds and events in our mind are ideas, which exist in the causal series of ideas that flow from God. Our actions and our wills are necessarily determined like other natural events. According to Spinoza, nature is always the same, and its power to act is the same everywhere. Our feelings, our love, our anger, our hatred, our desires, our pride are governed by the same. Spinoza's ethics, virtue and happiness. Virtue in Spinoza is a path to happiness. Indeed, the virtue is to live according to the understanding, which aims to increase our knowledge and understanding of nature. Mind lives according to conatus and research what is good for us. The ultimate knowledge, or third kind of knowledge, refers to knowledge of the essence of things, not in their temporal dimensions, but under the aspects of eternity. Ultimately, Spinoza's ethical theory is not without resemblance to Stoicism, which asserts that world events elude us. Only our view of the fatality can free us from the sadness. The sage understands that Spinoza was an integral part of nature, and he pleased. The wise man, therefore, is free and autonomous as it accompanies to nature, fits perfectly into it, the knowledge closer to God.